Namaste. Welcome back, beautiful souls. This is Top Tarot Minors, and in this episode, 5 of Swords, and I want to apologize for the gap in carrying on with this series. However, I think this is really important that I see this through to the 56th card. So let's go on. 5 of Swords. This is a tough one. I had a really hard time selecting a number of different iterations of this card to really reflect on the point, the lesson of the 5 of Swords. And so there are 6 on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I will be describing and trying to expand on this concept of thought, voice, sound, and ultimately heart space. Whether all of the decks that we're looking at are Golden Dawn inspired, whether they're Waite Smith inspired or Thoth inspired, there is a connection to the element of air and the heart space. And if you haven't studied the tarot extensively, this might be a bit of a stretch, but you can come at it through a chakra perspective as well too, that ultimately in the journey of the swords, we are once again healing the heart. We are, and I say once again because we have been through, if you follow Golden Dawn correspondences in the order, Wands, Cups, Swords, Pentacles, we are now approaching this journey through a different element, and yet still finding our way to peace of mind, peace of heart. And so I want to start by reading the description from the Tarot of the Hidden Realm, which is the card on the left with the warrior S with the sword drawn and the hawks in the sky. Clouds boil in the sky, thick and dangerous. Great slashes of jagged light cut the air, illuminating the sword in a strange light just for a moment, then disappearing, leaving the tangle of metal in their wake. The earth begs for rain to begin beating down, cleansing the sky and comforting the land. The furious show in the heavens plays games with reality, shadows and light changing so fast that it is hard to tell what is real and what is a trick of the storm. The energy is infectious. Hawks swoop down, wanting to escape the fray, but too frantic to land. A warrior who never shirks a battle feels the call of war in the very air around her, and she grabs her sword and shield, ready to wield them in the line of duty. Compelled to attack, she is also confused, not quite sure where her enemy is. The hawks, whom she has always considered companions, attack. Without thought, her training takes over and the battle ensues. And as I'm reading that, I'm thinking of the sort of group mentality that can ensue when we become consumed, or like a peer mentality when we become consumed by group behavior. There's a building of an intensity of energy that builds, and we irrationally react, or we act without consideration. It's an intense card, and welcome, Dee. Yeah, it is. It's a hard and nasty card, and it's funny, you know, with its Golden Dawn correspondence. It's a Venusian decan, and I've reflected on this so many times, and I think as well that when I think of the Venus cards that are really drawn in shadow, welcome Perry, I begin to think about what happens when we become all consumed with this worldly experience, when we become consumed with excess. And maybe that has something to do with it. And then a sense of power, control kind of takes over. I feel like in the Wildwood Tarot, this card here, so the archer is shooting in every direction except focusing one arrow to hit the ram. And this is like the words that fly around in an argument, the way that a heated discussion at work, we suddenly find ourselves saying things that we would never say, and it has to do with the rising of emotion and a lack of focus, a lack of control, a lack of discipline. And I think the answer is apparent, is very apparent here. There's a focus, there's a sense of discipline that needs to be regained. Now, all of the fives can be highly transformative cards, taking us on and into deep reflections. And there has to be a lesson here that, I mean, we need to get it, right? We need to understand what this is about, why these swords are going in every direction, why there is so much chaos, discombobulation, because what have we lost? We've lost perspective. And if you think of the fives as bridge cards, these bridges that we cross to a higher place, to the other side of our journey, we need to get there. And often, if you use the bridge metaphor, bridges are narrow. We need to focus our thoughts. We need to control our mind, tame our words in order to journey across to the next level. And there's something kind of powerful that is revealed. This is the red seeds. I said in a couple of the episodes that this is my favorite suit in this deck. And while this deck is a complete story of a journey, of a particular time and ritual and story, we can read some really interesting messages and use these cards to understand what's going on here. Now, in this scene, the Mist-eyed, so the initiates on their journey in this ritual, are being, let's say, verbally abused and battered and beaten down by the Hierophant or the Hierophants. As part of their journey, they receive a tongue lashing from the Hierophants, from the higher ups. And this reminds me of one time when I was at the ashram in India, in Reykjavik. Swami Satyananda stood up, and I've shared this story before, but I think it's worth repeating. This was a day where we were going I kid you not, I think it was 3 hours. 3 hours on a hard, cold marble floor. We were going to chant Swami Satyananda's mantra. It was his day. There was his death or birth day. And for 3 hours, we were going to chant this mantra. And so the senior practitioners were leading it. And they started in a very sing-songy sort of way. And in Vedic chanting, there is no sing-songy mantras like in like Deva, what's her name? Premal. A lot of the contemporary vocalists turn mantra very sing-songy, and in the old tradition, they're not chanted that way. And Swami Satyananda, not Swami Satyananda, Swami Satsangi stood up and got so angry at these sannyasi who should have known better, and got everybody back on track to chant in a Vedic style, which is quite monotone. And so this sort of reminds me of that and what she wanted us to experience in this 3 hours of chanting in this way. It was painful. I'm not kidding you. It was painful. Not only getting the tongue lashing from her, but also this endurance that was required to cross this bridge. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but I think maybe we have all received a tongue lashing from time to time, and at the time may not have understood why it was for our highest, but maybe later on did so. Yeah. All right, let me go on. This card is Pagan Otherworlds. And I've often thought about this one. This is a really clever deck, the way that the elements, or the swords in this case, are positioned and used strategically. So we have a gate, a blockage in the background. We have 3 versus 2. 3 that are bigger and taller, and 2 that are smaller. And you might see something similar in the Osho Zen Tarot. The keywords which I've cut off this deck, the keyword, I believe it was comparison. And here the question is, do we compare? What is the point in comparing the bamboo to the oak? They are both necessary. They are both great. They are both grand. Why do we as humans do this? Why do we compare ourselves to others? Why do we... it's just such a awful human trait. Let me read to you a little bit from the Osho Zen book. It is called Comparison. Comparison brings inferiority, superiority. When you don't compare, all inferiority and superiority disappear. Then you are simply there. A small bush or a big high tree, it doesn't matter. You are yourself. You are needed. A grass leaf is needed as much as the biggest star. Without the grass leaf, God will be less than he is. The sound of the cuckoo is needed as much as any Buddha. The world will be less, with less rich, if this cuckoo disappears. Just look around. All is needed and everything fits together. It is an organic unity. Nobody is higher and nobody is lower. Nobody is superior. Nobody is inferior. Everybody is incomparably unique. Now go back and think about that in terms of this berating by the superiors in this card. So maybe the lesson here is that I am not inferior. Here I am enduring this great initiation and walking this path to find myself. Maybe this berating by the superiors is for me to recognize my own inner strength. I really think there's something about this issue of comparison that's really powerful in these cards. And this is a layer that I think often gets missed in this card. And if you think about a more traditional Waite Smith or the Robin Wood deck, she called it the Nana Nana Boo Boo card. You know, I'm better than you are, na 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 boo boo. It's so childish. And what happens is, without a sense of self-worth, we buy into this. It's pretty powerful. I showed you the eagles, the hawks, and the warriors. So this is Tarot of the Hidden Realm. This one is the Gaian Tarot. And thank you too. These are great comments. I will leave these all on for everybody to read. So the hawks. No, not hawks. These are bald eagles. Let me read you from the Gaian Tarot. Way better than paraphrasing. 5 bald eagles scream and fight over territory. Once an endangered species, the 1972 ban on DDT resulted in a big comeback for eagles. In some areas, the resurgence has led to overpopulation and competition for habitat. Visitors to the wilderness may even witness eagles fighting to the death. If you are involved in a turf battle or arguments that has become quite nasty, bitter words, gossip, and slander may be thrown about. Unwelcome criticism may be given or received. Your opponents may be family members, friends, co-workers, or the system. Is there a way to defend your territory without attacking others? I think that's a really good question. Is there a way to defend your territory, to defend yourself, to defend your self-worth without attacking others? Conflicts often generate growth. As painful as they might be, what can you learn from the present conflict about the power of words? And we know how painful words can be and how words can scar for life. Maybe not for life, but we never quite forget some words that were delivered in childhood. And often I find that the deliverer doesn't understand the power of the sword that they wield. So there's a lot of layers here. And I want to go back to this underlying layer of Venus that is revealing itself through this decan, in that it's our worldly experience that can blow all of this out of perspective. And so there's a few things going on in the Herb Crafter Tarot with sage as the herb for this card. I like the idea, right? Sage clears the air. Sage purifies the air, purifies the energy, moves energy. And yet the Letitia Guthrie, who wrote this guidebook, also mentions the overuse, the popular use of sage and smudging, and how this plant has become endangered, white sage in the U.S. Appropriation, right? Appropriation of a plant, of a practice, using the practice in a way that you don't quite understand its power. White men taking over, right? The indigenous practice of smudging with sage. So there's layers here, right? There's layers that we can work with in this card, and I don't want to forget that it is a 5, and that all of the 5s have the potential to guide us to deeper understanding and growth. And so that question that was asked in the Gaian Tarot Guidebook was something like, how can we find our way through this without lashing back, without taking a sword and, destroying the other person? And this is what's really, really hard about a practice such as ahimsa, do no harm. Word, action, thought. So what might the initiate do here to demonstrate that they understand the lesson of the berating by the Hierophant? Rather than standing up, putting their hands on their hips and saying, no, I'm not less than you. And then name calling starts to happen. So there's some great message here. So pay attention to perhaps the lack of self-worth that is showing up in the reading. Because that is one thing that because the journey through the Suit of Swords, right? It's a journey of clarification, not clarification. It's a journey of finding one's voice, among other things. And the ability to articulate with loving kindness and clarity and intelligence is such a skill. And we don't all have that. And it's something, but yet it's something we can practice and learn like anything else. So, yeah, I think this is a really intriguing card. Okay. So, finding, I think with as far as like comparison goes, like top 5 of these cards, these 2 cards kind of do the same thing, but in a different way. So I would choose one of these cards, and then I think I would go with Tarot of the Hidden Realm. The focus that is required is a really important part of this. And I think there's a self-discipline that comes with this, right? We need to be able to cut away the emotion so we can find the best language for the situation. Something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Pagan Otherworlds. I think this is super powerful. So let's do that for top 5, okay? So, and like I said, it was really hard to find some good cards for this one. And let me know if you have others that you recommend. All right, so left to right is Wildwood, and then Herbcrafter, Tarot of the Hidden Realm, Pagan Otherworlds, and Red Seeds Tarot. Yeah. Okay. So I will endeavor to do over the next few days a few more of the swords cards, and they will all be on short notice. So I apologize, but I will get them done. Not get them done. This is really good for me, really enjoyable as well. So thank you all for your support, your kind comments, and I love coming back and responding to them after. Take good care of yourselves and have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste.